do you do? How do you do? How do you do? A pleasure to be here, and I appreciated your physical, Pat. But were it for a quake, a kind of a quirk of fate, I might have become a doctor myself. I could have been your surgeon, ladies and gentlemen. I actually was a pre-med student at Queens College in New York City. Not a school that frequently generates ovations, by the way. A school that academically ranks up there with the American Bartenders Institute. I didn't do particularly well as a pre-med. I got as far as organic chemistry, which at Queens was the course they say separated the men from the boys, and I didn't even qualify as a fetus having taken this course. I got a 15 on the final. What a brilliant performance this was, and I cheated my buns off to get that 15, not even a legitimate 15. The professor gave me an F-. I'll never forget this wicked woman. F-. She said, otherwise it wasn't fair to those who failed normally. This pre-med, and it was nice to see your physical. It was basically pain-free. I couldn't help but notice, because I myself recently had a physical during which I experienced what might be the most single painful moment of my existence, when my doctor inflicted on me a procedure known as a rigid sigmoidoscopy. Now, apparently some of you are familiar with this former Nazi torture technique. But I had never heard of this, and I couldn't believe they let a human being do this to another person without a formal declaration of war. My wife thought I had reached an age when it was appropriate for me to have what you call a precautionary physical. I'm in my late 30s, my very late 30s. I'm 42. Or 30-12, depending on your point of view. So my wife sets me up with this doctor, who I later found out had graduated from the Joseph Mengele School of Medicine, apparently as their valedictorian, who, when I say gave me a complete physical, this was beyond complete, ladies and gentlemen. This was medical overkill as far as I was concerned. He tested me for things I did not need testing for. A yeast infection, or what are the chances I'm going to sprout muffins at any point during this exam? What are the chances I'm going to break out in cookies? This man is looking for yeast. He tested me for things I did not need testing for. A sickle cell anemia. I'm a white Jew from New York. I don't need this test. And then the rigid sigmoid. Now, for those of you not familiar with this procedure, it followed the hernia examination. The hernia exam was just a warm-up for this doctor. And I've had dozens of hernia exams, and occasionally they are moderately enjoyable. But I had never had one quite as extensive as the one this doctor subjected me to. He was diddling and daddling down there for what I thought an undue amount of time. To me, if there's a hernia there, he should be able to ferret it out within 15 minutes. It's not mobile. It's not playing peekaboo. It's there. It's not, but he's diddling and daddling. This wasn't an exam. This was a courtship as far as I was concerned. A romance. My wife should be as attentive as this doctor was. Now, at the completion of this hernia search, the doctor leaves the room, leaving me alone with his nurse Ratchet. I don't know if you're familiar with this Nazi co-conspirator, who, in preparing me for this sigmoid, asked me to drop my trousers and hop up onto the table in the middle of the room, a request that made me uncomfortable, so I made a little joke. I said, "You first, babe." Thinking maybe a little humor might break the ice, but this was not a woman of remarkable wit, ladies and gentlemen, so in complying with her request, I dropped my trousers and assumed the classic horsey position and waited in this rather vulnerable posture for quite some time, me naked from the waist down alongside this nurse. It was awkward. At one point, I asked her to put her ear there and tell me if she could hear the ocean. We had come to a lull in the conversation. So we waited. At which point, the doctor finally makes an appearance, ostensibly to perform this procedure, carrying a rather impressive piece of medical apparatus, ladies and gentlemen, that looked remarkably like a Louisville slugger. I had no idea what this was. I thought maybe it's a harpoon he found on a whaling expedition. I asked him what he was carrying, in both hands, I might add. He said it was a sigmoidoscope, a camera that despite its rather prodigious dimensions, he was going to somehow insert, not insert, but ram into me for the purpose of taking pictures of my colon. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am 42 years old, and never has anyone requested pictures of my colon before. I asked him if he wanted wallet size or an 8x10 glossy. It occurred to me that inserting something so large through an opening so small might create severe discomfort. So I asked him if this was going to hurt. To which he responded, and I quote, he said, "You might experience a slight cramp," he said, which is somewhat akin to telling somebody in the path of a tidal wave, "You might experience moisture." A slight cramp, knowing full well the incredible pain he was about to inflict, he should have said, "You're going to wish you were dead, boy. You're going to wish you were never born." And at this point in the proceedings, with no foreplay, none, with no warning whatsoever, he launches this torpedo so that within seconds it was hidden. The cramp was in my neck. And as he began snapping picture after picture, I couldn't believe. I started screaming like it was inhumanly possible, to which Nurse Ratchet had the nerve to say, "You're scaring out other patients." I've got the Chrysler building in me. She's worried about other patients. I said they should be scared. They should know about this. In fact, run, Jews, run!